is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome into today's episode of 21 Questions, presented by you, the listeners of KCSN. Really appreciate you guys asking us questions, hanging out with us here on this Sunday, or whenever you're listening to this podcast. Jeff, how are you doing? I'm glad you hopped on to join me with 21 Questions. Trying to get more people in the rotation with 21 Questions.
Yeah.
How you been?
I've been great, man. I'm excited. We're close to the regular season kicking off Thursday night against the Lions. Got to see some quality preseason football from a lot of young guys, and we look good. So I'm excited to see what the regular season looks like.
Absolutely. So we're doing this a little bit different. We usually release these episodes on Tuesday, but with the Chiefs playing on Saturday, they've thrown the whole preseason schedule off, Jeff. Do you remember, I don't know if this is just something I made up in my head, but I feel like the final preseason game was always on a Thursday, and now it's like Saturday at noon is when this preseason game is next week. That's just wild. You're
correct. I think that was a changeover in the schedule when they condensed it to 3 preseason games.
Gotcha.
And now I guess since there's only one cut down date, so that changed as well. So I don't know transaction wise how that affected the schedules, but obviously we're starting to play out with them playing games on Saturdays now.
It feels a little weird for it to be on a Saturday, truthfully, but nevertheless, here we are. But 21 Questions is brought to you by the people in the KCSN Discord. If you're not a part of the KCSN Discord, go to kcsn.substack.com. You can subscribe there for $30 a month. Not only do you get access, $30 a year, sorry, not $30 a month, $5 a month if you're into that. You can get access to the Discord, as well get our premium film breakdowns from Matt, Craig, and Kent as well as a part of that. So good stuff there on the Discord. We've got a lot of questions, so let's go ahead and dive into them, Jeff. This is from Just Tailgating. He says, old school question. We used to be told that missing preseason made you more susceptible to injury. There is some anecdotal but not analytical evidence to support the theory. Having said that, what is your level of concern with Chris Jones being injured after skipping all of training camp?
For Chris, not so much, because he's a veteran guy. He knows what it takes to get in shape. Not just get in shape, to get in football shape. He's played a lot of games. If anything, it's going to do well for his body. For Chris, but that's a good way of thinking, especially for a young guy. I mean, the best way to get in shape for football is actually playing football.
Yeah.
And I mean, statistics show, if you look at the analytics, guys that don't play in the preseason or guys that, whether it be for holding out or injury reasons, tend to early in the season, get hurt. And it's a lot of soft tissue things, not major injuries, but hamstrings, those types of things that, are adjacent to, getting back in shape. So there's concern there. But with Chris, I wouldn't be too concerned.
It is interesting, too, because you're seeing this shift, especially with coaches. A lot of the younger coaches are like not playing the starters at all for sake of injury in terms of preseason. Andy Reid always has played his starters in preseason games, and you can see maybe that I don't know, Jeff. I guess I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think that helps the Chiefs not get out to the slow start that maybe some teams also have?
100%. It's also why historically Andy Reid's always had fourth quarter teams. You got some really physical fit guys out there. I mean, it's no joke. His camps and you hear about them, they're tough. I mean, it's an old school way. I think it's even tougher now with it being one practice, because he's kind of 2 a days you break it up, but with one practice, it's just one long ass practice. But it's gotten guys ready. And if you can make it through an Andy Reid training camp, you're usually going to make it throughout the year, especially if you make it out of those first couple of weeks healthy. That's why the roster pretty much stays healthy, because of the training camps.
Chiefs have been very fortunate in terms of injury luck past couple of years. It does make a lot of sense. But next question here is from our friend Charles Goldman. He asks, what is Andy Reid's favorite Cookie Society flavor? His
favorite is sweet potato pie. I mean, he talks about it all the time. And I send it up to him quite often during the season, during the holidays. You got to do everything in moderation, but that's his favorite cookie.
Ooh, I know you've talked, every time we've talked about it, you said that's one of your favorites as well.
Yes.
I haven't had the chance to try that one yet, and
I'll get some to you.
I appreciate it. I'm kicking myself because I was supposed to be down there at a O-line mastermind. Something came up, couldn't be down there, and I saw you had the truck parked out front. So I was like, man, when BJ tweeted out that picture, I said, doggone it. I should have been out there.
All good, man. I'll get the truck up to KC.
Ooh.
I'm gonna do it. I gotta figure it out. Figure out a pop-up situation.
What are the flavors of the month right now? I guess we're about to go to September.
We're going to September, but right now we have a strawberry toaster strudel cookie, a Rice Krispie cookie, a Texas sheet cake cookie, and we have I'm missing one. I mean, they're all amazing right now. I'll think of it later, but it's some good stuff.
You guys are good on TikTok too. I always see you guys' TikToks pop up on my feed, so make sure to go follow them. Obviously on TikTok, but no, great stuff. I love all the cookies that you guys got there. But sweet potato pie makes sense for Andy Reid. When you said that, I was like, oh, that tracks. That is it's very on brand for Andy. All right. Next question here is from Joel Penfield. He said, since they sell beer bats at baseball games, what should the equivalent gimmick beer holder be at football games?
That's a good question. I would probably go with I don't know, man. That's tough. I guess a holder, like a field goal holder.
Oh,
I mean, something like that, or not a field goal holder, but the kickoff holder. Or maybe even, some type of gimmicky football type situation that opens up like a class and drink out of that. But we won some Super Bowls, so maybe we get a replica of that.
Ring,
Travis, or get a ring.
The Lombardi, the actual
Lombardi. A lot of people took offense to that, when Travis did it. Even though, but I think it's all fun.
People will take offense to anything. So I think that's my first thought was like an actual football, right? But it's probably like hollowed out in the middle.
Yeah.
And with like the top, you can kind of pull off. Maybe it just doesn't even have a top. Maybe it's just a cup. With the beer bats, they don't have like a top on them. So the other thing I thought of was like a goalpost would be kind of tough because there's just a bunch of different ways,
You know what? I got one. A pylon.
Oh, there it is.
That's a good one. That, just the shape of it, it bodes well for a chug.
Yep.
I think a pylon would do it.
That's genius. A pylon. There it is. We figured it out. Listen, Chief, you can have that one for free. That idea is free, honest. Thank you. All right, this one's from Casey in Casey. He says, hey, Big Jeff, what are the most critical and challenging aspects our new tackles have to consistently command for the O-line to achieve whatever their ceiling may be with this group?
Just getting into that rhythm. That continuity is really important. And the only way you build that is with reps and time. And usually with a new group like this, you want to come out the gate smoking. You want to come out all wheels on fire and turning in the right direction. But it's going to take some time. I think they're going to do well. They look awesome right now.
Yeah.
Typically, you don't see, like, Patrick hasn't been touched. It's unbelievable. The one thing that I have noticed from a cadence standpoint is Jawan Taylor. This guy gets off the ball. Like, he's moving like a tick faster than everyone, which is kind of allowing the defensive end to go up another. Now, he's recovering really fast. He's not giving up any pressure, and Pat's doing his thing, rolling out the pocket, making some plays off of it. But Jawan's going to get used to that cadence and that rhythm, and I think they're going to get used to one another. So that's the one thing that we got to look forward to.
And said it last night on the postgame show. Him and Lane Johnson are like in contention for the fastest off the ball.
It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Jawan even looks like he moves so clean too. Like watching him, it's just like wow. Like you can tell he's like incredibly athletic. And we saw the videos when the Chiefs signed him of him just doing some insane workout exercises. But no, Chiefs offensive line did play really well. No quarterback hits in the first, I think, 2 games. So that's a big change from where they were last year, allowing the most pressures to now in the first 2 preseason games. Now it's the Cardinals and the Saints, so I don't think any world beaters, but not allowing any quarterback hits is still a big deal.
I mean, athletically, skill-wise, on paper, these are the best tackles that we've had. Now, production and potential are 2 separate things, right? My coach used to always tell me in college, potential will get you fired,
Yeah.
If someone keeps telling you have the potential to do something, that means you're not doing it. So they have the potential to be the best group that Andy Reid has had, but they got to do it. So we'll see.
I thought Donovan Smith even played really well too. I know a lot of people were apprehensive about Donovan Smith, especially coming off a year where he he admitted in his opening press conference that he played through some things that he probably shouldn't have. The Tampa Bay offensive line had a lot of injuries on it last year. He was playing left tackle for him, and his left guard was seemingly different every week. And Jeff, I'm kind of curious. This is a question I'm throwing in now. How hard is that if you're playing with a different guy with you like every week right next to you?
Very difficult from a communication standpoint and from a trust standpoint. You don't know, as a left tackle, right? Primarily you're on the island. You know you're going to be one-on-one most of the game, but there's certain instances where you get help from your guard. And when you know you got a guy next to you and he's going to be there, it gives you more confidence, right? When you're next to a guy that you haven't played with and you don't know, it kind of throws you out of whack. So that's why the continuity piece of the offensive line is so important, playing next to the same guy. Oftentimes that communication isn't verbal. Like when you play with a guy for so long, you don't even say anything to him. And you can give him a look or, you know, he knows the situation. You study film with this guy constantly, so you see the game the same way. It's like you're playing next to your clone. Like you're thinking the same way, you're stepping the same way. It's a beautiful position, man. Like offensive line play it is the ultimate team position. Like football is the ultimate team sport, but within that, there's no group in sports that has to play together like the offensive line. So that's the beautiful part about it. But it takes time, and when you're playing next to a guy that you haven't had that relationship with, or it's a constant change out, it's hard to build that.
And I tried to, when the Chiefs signed Donovan Smith and kind of trying to put some context into Donovan Smith last year, I really tried to emphasize that part of it of like, hey, like he might not have had the best year last year, but like if you look, the turnover on that offensive line was insane in Tampa Bay. They had a lot of injuries last year.
And I know we've been talking a while about this question, and maybe a question later in the show that kind of gets this answer. But what people need to take into consideration is Kansas City's offense is an O-line friendly offense.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, you have to be good to play, right? But like you could put some guys out there that aren't overly athletic, that aren't maybe top tier starters, and you could get by with them because of the scheme. The way Andy Reid sets things up, he knows what he's working with. He's going to adjust. He's going to make sure that he creates a good environment for the offensive line. And when you got guys that are great players in that system, you see things like you're seeing in this preseason where Pat's I couldn't touch, right? I mean, it's just the defense has enough to think about with all these formations, shifts, motions, and all the different things they do, from a skill position standpoint, that it makes it hard for them to actually get a pass rush more.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. I'm very excited, very, very encouraged about the offensive line. But Jeff, we're gonna have to take one break. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with more of your questions after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? I got to interrupt today's podcast to tell you about our friends at Factor. And with the busy season just around the corner, school's starting up, football's starting up, sports are starting back up for this season. You might be looking for some wholesome, convenient meals for these jam-packed days. And Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up with fresh, chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Too busy with your end-of-summer goals to cook, but want to make sure you're eating well? With Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping and the prepping and the cleaning up while still getting the flavor and the nutritional quality that you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy to get back to crushing your goals. Refresh your healthy habits without missing a beat. You can choose from 34 weekly flavor-packed dietitian-approved meals ready to eat in just 2 minutes. And then you can level up as well with their Gourmet Plus options prepared to perfection by chefs ready to eat in record time. Treat yourself to upscale meals with premium ingredients like broccolini, leeks, truffle butter, and asparagus. I put in an order with Factor. I got a chef's choice, so I'm excited to see what they send me there with Factor. So here's what you got to do. You got to head to factormeals.com/KCSN50 and use code KCSN50 to get 50% off. That's code KCSN50 at factormeals.com/KCSN50 to get 50% off. Now let's get back to the show. We'll go back into 21 questions here on KC Sports. So we're hanging out with former Chiefs offensive lineman Jeff Allen. Jeff, I've been loving the pictures you've been posting of getting your room behind you set up. What's your favorite jersey you got hanging up back there?
My favorite jersey hanging up back here, man. I can't pick. I'm gonna have to be a politician right now.
That's fair.
Right. Every single one of these jerseys up here, though, play a significant part in my life, just not from a football standpoint, but just during those times of like friendship and the brotherhood that I built. A lot of these guys up here on my wall over here are old college teammates, former roommates. And when you think about that, like I went to the University of Illinois. My recruiting class had 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. We had more top 50 picks in my recruiting class than any school in the country, which is wild to think about. But I think back on that time, out of those 6 guys that got drafted in the top 50 picks, 4 of us were roommates. And it lets you know, and it wasn't like obviously we were good, but we all had the same goal in mind. We all worked and held each other accountable. And when I tell young guys, it matters who you surround yourself with, right? Surround yourself with like-minded people, and that's what you're going to become, right? If you're in the room with a lot of people that are striving for the same thing, if you want to be a millionaire, right? Hang out with a bunch of millionaires, and you're going to find your way in that room one day. So it's the same thing. Surround yourself by like-minded people that are striving for great things, and you'll be great too.
I love it. Good stuff there. If you don't follow Jeff on Twitter, or I think it was Twitter where you posted all the pictures of jerseys up there. Yeah,
but my favorite is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he got me a ring. So all right, I said I'll let just to get to that.
That is incredibly fair. It'd be my favorite too, truthfully. Yeah. All right, let's get into the questions. Let's get back into the Discord. This is from Zach Forical McMuskin. Hey Jeff, what is your favorite barbecue meat to smoke yourself?
Brisket. 100% brisket. It is the standard meat in barbecue. It is the toughest. There's so many different techniques. There's so many different styles. I'm down here in Texas, so I'm doing a Texas style now to fit in. But putting the Kansas City twist on it because I'm bringing the burn ends, and they don't do burn ends here. So they try to, but they don't know how to. So brisket.
It's true. Texas barbecue does try to do burn ends. They're nowhere near when you get the ones at Joe's or Jack Stack or wherever you want to get your barbecue. Kansas City does burn ends so much better.
I call them chunks of brisket here. It's not burn ends. I don't know. I don't know what they are.
The burn ends personally is my favorite part of a barbecue.
Yeah.
When you get that whole brisket and you get that cap where you can do the burn ends with, and just when they're made right and they just melt in your mouth. That's just it's perfect. It's so good.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on. This one's from Casey. And Casey, he said, Jeff, is your South Lake Cookie Society location open? Coming over from North Fort Worth to support you.
Not open yet. The target date is late October, at least early November. But we're coming right before holidays.
That's perfect. You guys, is that your 3rd location then?
That's our 3rd location, and we're working on number 4 right now too in the Dallas area. So. Can't give all those details yet because we haven't signed the lease, but we're pretty close on it.
Love to hear it. I remember when we first, I think when you guys had first started doing podcasting here at KCSN, you were getting settled in the that 2nd location.
Yeah.
So love to see that growth happening, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Let's. This is also a question from Casey and Casey. If the guys in the O-line room were Cookie Society cookies, what flavors would they be?
Okay. Trey Smith would be oatmeal raisin because he's old school. And when I say old school, I'm talking about the way you play football is a throwback fashion. Tough. The kicking isn't tough, right? But I'm talking about just when you think of cookies, you think about classics, oatmeal raisin, chocolate chip, those things are classics. So he's a throwback type of player. So he's a throwback cookie. I would say Joe Thuney, I would say he is a chocolate chip. He's reliable, right?
Yeah.
He's a chocolate chip cookie. He's reliable. He's dependable. You know what you're going to get. And he's the gold standard, right? You go anywhere, it doesn't matter what they're selling cookie-wise, you're going to try that chocolate chip because if you got a good chocolate chip cookie, that means you probably got other good cookies. So he's a chocolate chip. Creed is I'm going to say Creed is strawberry toaster strudel cookie. mean, that thing is magnificent. It is packed with a lot of fun, and it's stout, right?
Yeah.
That is Creed, man. That dude is he's just a beast, man, right?
He is.
And you see Creed, right? He's a tank, but he'll surprise you with the grace that he has, man. The way that he moves, and that's a strawberry toaster strudel cookie. Jawan, I'm gonna go with man, what is Jawan? Jawan probably would be like a salted caramel cookie, right?
Okay.
Smooth, silky.
Oh yeah.
Graceful, like just one of those things that you look at and you say, man, that looks good. That's Jawan. He looks the part. He moves great. He's a smooth guy. And I would go for Donovan. I would go with banana pudding. That thing is one of those things that surprises you. It stood the test of time with our company, and it is the thing that made us Cookie Society, right? Donovan has the potential to solidify this offensive line, right? He plays the most important position in football beside quarterback, because he's protecting the quarterback. So if he can stand the test of time and be that key for us, that call, we're going to be all right.
That was very good. Like I have had the banana pudding one too, and you're right. It's like surprising because I was like, banana pudding. I don't know how I feel about this. And then I ate it. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So it's just like it.
It does. It's insane. That was really good. I'm very impressed by your cookie matching abilities. But I mean, the salted caramel for Jawan makes a ton of sense. No notes, 10 out of 10, no notes. Let us know in a 5-star review. If you're leaving a 5-star review on today's podcast, let us know what your cookies for the offensive line would be.
Yeah.
Love that question there. That's a great question.
That's a great question for sure.
From Casey and Casey. Here's one from Lee87. This one might be a little bit tougher, Jeff. He wants you to give your 5 best offensive linemen of all time. So I guess it would be like your I'm not going to say Mount Rushmore because there's 5 guys on there.
Yeah.
Like I guess it would be your all-time 5.
All right. So all of this is subjective, right? Obviously, historically speaking, if you look at the game, you could easily pick a top 5 based off of history, all statistics, although we don't have a ton as offensive linemen, but everyone knows those 5 that study the game. But for me, right, this is for me, who the guys that inspired me growing up, I'm going to go with, for sure, Walter Jones, right? That's the reason why I wore number 71. I grew up watching Walter Jones. I just felt like I wanted to be that guy. Then Orlando Pace, right? He was the first offensive lineman that put flair on it, right? That was getting the attention and notoriety as a skilled guy, right? He was, what was it? He had Heisman votes. I think he was 2nd place. The guy almost won Heisman as offensive lineman. And after that, I'm going to center. My favorite center of all time, may surprise a lot of people, but I'm from Chicago, is Olin Kreutz, right? Tough son of a gun, durable, dependable. And when you talk about a guy, his personality matching a city, like he was blue collar, came to work every day with his lunch pail, and he represented the city of Chicago really well. And I couldn't help but admire it as a kid in Chicago, seeing what he did. Favorite guard, I'm going to go with Will Shields, man.
Yeah.
I mean, another one of those guys that's like ultra dependable, really durable. Wasn't flashy at all. Will just got the job done every single day, not just games, practice. I mean, a guy that plays like that, he's coming to work every day. And he's doing the same thing day in and day out, and that's how you create consistency. And that's why you saw it. That's why he's Hall of Famer. And then after that, I'm going to say Hutchinson. I mean, like I said, I grew up a Bears fan, so obviously he's in the division in Minnesota, so I got to see him play a lot. And he was one of those guys, similar type of guy, really dependable. And it's a constant thing. When you talk about offensive linemen, right? Talk about dependable guys. Mm-hmm. We play 70 to 80 snaps a game. And in order to be a great one, you can't make mistakes. I know it's a ton of pressure. It isn't ideal. It isn't fair sometimes because other positions could I mean, we saw Rashid Rice drop a ball, right?
Yeah.
He was able to make up for it. But if I give up a sack, forced fumble, touchdown, and then the rest of my plays are great, you're going to always talk about that, and then I'm going to look like crap. But it's just a part of the position, and that's how we deal with it. So those are my guys, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. I even put you on the spot with that. Didn't give you a single heads up. You were able to rattle those off. I'm impressed that you had those ready to go.
No, man, those are my guys, man. Obviously, it'd be a different list if it wasn't my personal opinion. If
yeah,
just talking about just facts, I would have different guys, but those are the guys that inspire me. So those are my 5.
I love it. Absolutely love it there. All right, let's get another question in before the break. This one's from Mike Denny. He said, "Hey Tucker, what's it like to host a show answering questions where none of the questions are directed at you?" Listen, I enjoy asking Mike or Jeff questions. So I was thinking about, you and Mike doing your podcast together. Sometimes I'd mix you guys up. I'd switch your first names and last names around and everything like that. But no, really do enjoy just like getting to listen to you and Mike just talk football. So like it doesn't bother me at all when I just get to listen to you guys talk about the game. We did that podcast where we talked about the one-on-ones. The one-on-one sessions I thought was really informative, and I learned a lot just kind of sitting there and just being around for it. But people just can't take one-on-ones very seriously, basically, what it comes down to.
No, they can't take them very seriously. I mean, we see, like, Pat hasn't gotten touched in the game. Like, that pocket moves. There's bodies all around. And with this group that we have, I'm not worried about them losing one-on-ones in practice.
No. And a lot of that, too, is, I know, Jeff, that you brought this up. Guys are working on different stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the defensive line could be working on something that goes completely against what you're working on. So there's just a lot of stuff like that. I think rush lanes are important when talking about winning one-on-ones. If you see a guy cut all the way inside to like where the center would be, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, he won that rep." No, he didn't. He did not win that rep. Yeah, but I don't know if you saw this clip, Jeff, but Penei Sewell was going up against Kayvon Thibodeau in a joint practice the Lions and the Giants were having, and someone tweeted out like Kayvon Thibodeau won this rep, but like it wasn't like Penei Sewell was in front of him the whole time.
Yeah,
and he's out of a rush lane too, but no respect for Penei.
Yeah, no respect. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example of what that would look like in a real life game situation. Obviously, the general public thought Penei lost that rep because they don't understand football from. But all right, so the play this last game against the Cardinals where Pat rolled out the pocket and threw that touchdown to Justin Watson. Juwan had a similar type of rush where the guy kind of got underneath him and he just washed him down. Pat rolls out the pocket, drops a dime, touchdown. That's usually what happens because the defensive end has responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have a person replacing you in that C gap, you go up and under, and the tackle washes you down. The quarterback now has a free escape, and he's rolling out. And a lot of times, especially with Pat, that's where his magic happens, right? So you open up all type of lanes. He can see the field better, and it results in the touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think from what we've seen so far in the preseason, don't think people have much to worry about when it comes to one-on-ones. No. We don't get to see them anymore. They broke for camp now. I'm sure this was probably one of the best times of the year for you as you break from St. Joe getting back home.
Definitely.
But we've got some more training camp questions coming up. There's a really interesting one, but we got to take a break. We'll be back right after.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
What's good, everybody? It is Ben Heisler from Benny and the Bets here on KCSN. And if you are ready to go the distance and improve your golf game like I am in the process of doing, I want you to head on over to PXG right here in Kansas City and take the PXG Gen 6 Driver Challenge. They are confident in the Gen 6 that they're putting their money where their mouth is. If their Gen 6 driver does not deliver more distance, more carry and roll, higher dispersion compared to your current driver when you go in for a fitting, they got you covered with a $100 MasterCard reward card. That's it. Go in for a driver fitting, see if your driver is up to their driver, and if it is, you get a $100 MasterCard reward card in the process. This is an unbelievable opportunity to upgrade your game with a custom fit PXG fitting. I've had it at the Kansas City store with Alex. It was one of the great experiences I've had in a golf fitting, period. So take the PXG Gen 6 driver all throughout the month of August and get ready to hit those fairways with confidence. So visit your local Kansas City store or head on over to pxg.com for all the terms and conditions. PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
It's 21 questions here with Jeff Allen, former Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman. This question is for you, Jeff. Has to do with training camp. This is from C. Andrea. For Jeff, what do the off-duty hours of training camp in St. Joe look like? Are you guys just chilling in the dorms, or do you get to leave if you want?
You get to leave. So you get to go back to Kansas City, see your family. So it's the best part. For the young guys, I guess they get to go and, I don't know, do young things. But for me, I got married early. I had kids early. So the most exciting thing was being able to get back and see my family, see my wife, see my kids, and enjoy that time. We had a lot of grand plans, right? We always would say, hey, a day off, we're going to do this, that. And I go see them, give them a hug. We go get something to eat, and we have more plans, but I end up falling asleep. So I'd fall asleep, and I would wake up the next day and go back to St. Joe. That was my off day.
I always see the guys on the off days. I think, Brittany will post some stuff with Patrick when he comes home, and I'm always really curious about that. But when you're up in St. Joe too, and you don't have practice, you guys can go and get something to eat, right? You don't have to stay on the campus. You
don't have to stay on campus. I mean, even during days that are off days, right? I mean, one of our rituals, when Rodney Hudson was there, during our hard days where we have a bad practice or we get chewed out, we go to Wendy's. Go get some spicy nuggets, man. Go get a Frosty, and that'll make us feel better.
Those spicy nuggets are special.
Yeah, exactly.
They are special. I wish, speaking of spicy nuggets, I wish Chick-fil-A would do a spicy nugget.
No, man. You know how disappointed I was when I heard they were bringing out a new item, and then they said, it's a chicken sandwich with pimento cheese. I was like, where's the spicy nuggets, man?
They got to bring it. It just seems too logical for them not to. I usually get the spicy chicken sandwich because I think it's very good. Man, having those spicy.
Right. I'm not gonna get off course, but I'm gonna give you a Chick-fil-A hack, right?
Okay.
So you can order the patty without the bun. So what I do is sometimes I order patty without the bun, just chop it up and treat it like nuggets. And a lot of folks don't talk about this, and I'm gonna give them their flowers. Chick-fil-A has the best fast casual mac and cheese in America. Yeah. All right. So I'm talking this tastes like your grandmother's mac and cheese. This is some good stuff. I take the spicy chicken patty, chop it up, and put it in the mac and cheese, and chef's kiss. You're welcome.
I'm gonna have to go get that now. You just made me.
I need to start a TikTok for, we call it Fat Kid Diaries. I mean, I grew up a big kid. I did a lot of things that they're doing now. I mean, that they're doing now snack-wise that it was doing back in 98. So.
I love that. I do love the Fat Kid Diaries would be a good one. Just food hacks is all it would be.
Food hacks.
You want an ultimate fast. I've seen some people put the mac and cheese with the fries and cut up one of the patties and put it in there, and it's just I think you put ranch and buffalo sauce in it. I've seen a lot of people.
That's just too much, man. I'm talking, you got to have texture and integrity when it comes to food, right? When you just start throwing a bunch of stuff in a bowl, doing a bunch of sauces, you're getting the same texture. You need different layers, right? Food is about texture, visual. I could get into podcasting about that, but it's a different story. So.
I love it. We got another food question, actually. Speaking of it, we manifested it from Carender here, and he says, brisket chili, chunks or shredded?
Chunks.
I agree.
Chunks. You have to have the chunks.
Yep. I like as you're talking about with texture. I like to have that bite of meat.
You have to have the bite, right? It's a totally different experience. Shredded, you start not getting equal portions.
Yep.
Starts getting in between your teeth, all type of stuff. So you want to get the chunks. It's better.
Got some good questions coming up here. Zach Smurder asks, what do you think is the biggest lesson Andy learned from the last time he was defending champs versus now? And what do you think he's doing differently this time post-win?
I'm trying to see. I would say, I don't know if he's learned anything. I mean, Andy's a consistent guy, right? He's going to treat every year the same, and the standard's the standard, man. Doesn't matter if he's coming off a Super Bowl win. It doesn't matter if he's coming off a loss. It doesn't matter if he's not in the playoffs the previous year. The standard's the standard. the objective every year is to win the Super Bowl, and he goes about it that way. Obviously, you learn from your past, and there are things you tweak. But I'm not sure there's much for him to learn. I guess they've been there for a minute, so he knows what to do.
Right. He has been around. He's been around the block. Now he's got those 2 Super Bowls. I think he absolute lock for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a conversation.
Arguably the greatest coach of all time. I mean, yes. I used to say Bill Belichick, but he's been kind of suspect lately. So,
well, that's Tom Brady, man. When you start talking about that conversation, he hasn't really done anything without Tom.
It's kind of suspect now. I mean, I was 100% behind Bill being the greatest of all time, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at their bodies of work, you look over the course of time, although Andy doesn't have as many Super Bowl titles, Andy has been more consistent, and he's done it with multiple quarterbacks.
Yes, I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, he's in it he's in a conversation every year and a contender every year. Yes, Bill just has those titles, but you can say now that may have been because of Tom.
I think that there's a decent argument to be made that maybe Bill was a system coach instead of Tom being a system quarterback in terms there.
Yeah.
But no, when you start to look at like all-time wins and stuff, like Andy's up there. Like Andy's like almost to the top of it. And that's a hard conversation to pull him out of when you're talking about all-time greatest. So in terms of all-time wins, he's won at 2 places, which I think is probably the most important, the most impressive thing is he won in Philadelphia. He didn't get that Super Bowl in Philadelphia, but he came in Kansas City and immediately made a team that was, 2-14 before he came?
11-5.
Yes, and he was an immediate flip, and I think that's the most impressive thing that he's done in his career.
The real question would be if you can turn back time and give Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes majority of the career, would he have more Super Bowls than Bill? And I say yes. Right? Wow. Obviously, because of father time, and I'm sure Andy wants to do things outside of football in life. He's not going to be able to enjoy a 20-year career with Patrick. So, but we've seen in this short period of time what he's been able to do. So, I would say yes.
That's really good. I like that hypothetical. It's fun to think about, but listen, I was a big Donovan McNabb fan. Like I thought Donovan McNabb was a really great quarterback, and I like those teams with was it Brian Dawkins was a running back, and they had Donovan McNabb. Like those,
they had that was Brian Dawkins was safety. They had
oh, that's right.
Running back was Brian Westbrook.
And
then they had Sproles for a little bit. They had some really good teams there in Philly, man.
They had some dudes. They really did. All right. This is an interesting question. I do want to get your take on this. I don't know. You guys talked about it a little bit on one-on-one the last episode you guys did. But we want to get Derek in the Mountains wants to get Jeff's take on Bieniemy getting called out by Ron Rivera.
I think that was really weird, man. I think that I don't quite understand that, right? I do understand the players' take, right? Because EB is a tough coach, but you gotta put your big boy pants on. EB is one of those guys that he ain't gonna just break you down. He's also gonna build you up. He wants what's best for you, and he's gonna love on you too. So I kind of understand them because they don't have that experience with them. Maybe haven't been around long enough. But EB's a great dude, great coach. But for the head coach to bring that to the light of the public, you knew it was going to create a shitstorm. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, you're good.
So I don't understand why that was even public knowledge. That you keep that in house. I mean, you never hear Andy Reid coming out saying the things that happened in Kansas City, right? No, I mean that's in-house stuff. So it's weird. That's all I can say.
It was, and like you mentioned, the reporters didn't ask about it.
No,
I think the reporter said like, "Hey, how are people like adjusting to?" Eric Bieniemy has a clear coaching style difference from a lot of coaches, right? Mm-hmm. He's very vocal. When you're out there at camp, you can hear him. Like that's just the thing. So I think that the reporter was just genuinely asking, like, "Hey, how are players adjusting to it?" And Ron Rivera just threw him straight under the bus. It's very weird.
We call it a beep beep. He rolled him over and went back. Like he reversed. So I don't know if that was like I don't know. Maybe is he intimidated by EB? Is that one of those things where hey, this guy might end up being the next head coach here? And I don't know. I've only heard good things about Ron Rivera, by the way.
Yeah, same.
All great things from a player's side, from a coach's side. Like he has all positive feedback throughout the league. But I just think this instance was weird.
Both Andy Reid coaching tree guys too.
Yeah.
So like both guys that have that commonality in mind. So it was a very weird situation. All right, Jeff, a few more here. This one is from Matt Lane here. That's a KCSN. Who was the freakiest player you played with in the weight room?
In the weight room, I'm gonna say probably Dante Poe.
I can see that.
And that's pound for pound, and that's hard to do at 340 pounds. Like that is absolutely nuts, the things that he was able to do with weight in the weight room. And he wasn't just throwing around baby weights. I mean, this guy's getting under 600-pound squats, and I'm over there with my 315 looking over like, I got to block this guy today. But yeah, probably Dante Poe, freakiest weight room guys.
That makes sense. I bet he was moving that thing. I bet he was moving some weight.
Moving some weight, man. I mean, bench press out of this world, hang clean. I mean, obviously explosive. We saw the combine, right? It translated in the weight room big time and on the football field.
He had a pretty impressive bench press, didn't he?
Like 40, I think he had like 45 or something, 44, around that range.
I'm going to look it up real quick. But I do remember him having a super impressive combine in terms of measurements. 44 reps of 225. That's
yes. Wow. He made the weights look like the fake weights.
That's incredible. I would love just to see him, just to watch him do. I obviously like now it wouldn't. He's not moving that same way. But
second to him was probably Brian Cushing.
That makes sense.
Those two guys were just, yeah. They could if they didn't play football, they both could be strongman competition type guys.
Wow. Brian Cushing makes sense. Those two guys, if you would like, if at face value, if you'd say like Brian Cushing, man, he's a freak in the weight room, I'd be like, yep, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
That does make a lot of sense. Dante Poe, freak in the weight room. Yep, okay, that does make sense. Okay, let's wrap up with this one right here from Isaac Q. What was the most encouraging thing you saw from the Chiefs offensive line last night?
The most encouraging thing that I saw from the Chiefs offensive line was the pass protection. I mean, they were on point. They gave Peck a clean pocket every single time he dropped back, and they were working together, man. Like, it looked like they'd been together a lot longer than they have, which is scary. I don't know what they did in the offseason. I don't know if they're just all meant to be together, if it's like a stepbrother situation. Like, I don't know. They're best friends. Like, it's amazing to see. So I'm looking forward to the regular season, like I said at the opening.
I'm going to throw another question here, too, because you talking about they're not skipping a beat makes me wonder. Do you think having that interior core of, Tooney, Creed, and Trey, that helps those tackles step in a little bit easier?
100%. They solidify the pocket. They solidify this offensive line. They're the head of the snake, in my opinion, right? Like, it makes the tackle's job a lot easier when they know that the integrity of the pocket, meaning the interior, is going to be stout and that the quarterback has an opportunity to step up, yeah. Right? So now they know that they, in a bad situation, as long as they don't get beat up and under, they can run a guy by. That gives the tackles ultimate confidence in pass protection. And then also with them being the standard and them being the best group in the NFL, interior-wise, we got pride, man. Like, we're professional athletes. We don't want to be the fucking weakest link.
Yeah.
So you're going out there like, man, that's great. I got to be great too. So I don't want to be the guy, and that plays a huge factor in going out there and performing.
I love it. Jeff, thank you for taking some time and talking, answering the people's questions after the second preseason game. Really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of 21 Questions. Make sure to stay tuned. I have another short week next week, so I assume that 21 Questions will be out on Sunday again next week, but we'll let you know who will be answering those questions. If you are in on the Discord, make sure to stay tuned to that 21 Questions channel. We'll let you know. And also, if you're not a part of the Discord, what are you doing? Go ahead and get in there by subscribing at kcsn.substack.com. $5 a month, $30 a year, gets you access to the Substack plus film breakdowns and everything great that we got at our Substack newsletter. So I'm Tucker Franklin for Jeff Allen. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you guys for listening.